Hello, friends. Thank you for joining me today for another episode of the Magician series. Today, we'll be talking to an actual icon in the tarot and astrology space. We're going to be chatting with Theresa Reed today. So exciting. We're going to bring her on in just a second. If you don't know who Theresa Reed is, she is known on social media as the Tarot Lady. And she is a best-selling and award-winning author who's written multiple books. Everybody knows The Cards You're Dealt. She's worked as a professional tarot reader and astrologer for over 30 years. And she's read for thousands of clients from every walk of life. She's a Gemini, and I'm pretty sure she's a Scorpio moon, just like me. So I'm very excited to have that discussion. And she's written a book, and we're going to chat about this book because you need this book in your life. Everybody needs this book. It is the Book of Astrological Returns, your complete guide to every life cycle from the sun to Pluto. And I'm going to bring her on right now. Let's wave at Theresa and let's see if we can get her. Theresa, can you request to join, please? All right, let's see if we can get Theresa on. Send me a little request. There it is. Yeah. Did it work? Did we get you? All right. Here she is.
It
Hi.
worked. Oh my goodness. Technology has not been my friend, Stefanie. So I'm really grateful when it actually does what it's supposed to do. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to actually be talking to you. We've shared so many emails and all the things for such a long time. And I'm just so grateful that you made time for us today. And also, thank you so much for the beautiful blurb that you wrote about my book, Tarot for
Oh my God.
Meditation.
Yes, it's such a great book. And oh my God, y'all, I hope folks got this book. You need it. It's so good.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. So you're a Gemini.
Yes. And it's Gemini season.
It's Gemini season. I know.
Finally.
I was so excited. I was like, we're getting a Gemini, the Gemini, in the opening of her season.
Yes. I said the other day, Taurus's reign of terror is over. It is Gemini time. It's our
Goodbye.
time. Bye,
It's your
Taurus.
time.
No offense.
All good. So you've just published and released the Book of Astrological Returns.
Hmm.
I so wish that this book would have existed when I was in my earlier astrology studies, because I'm a self-taught astrologer.
Same.
And holy shit, you really, I have to say, like, you really spelled it out for people and you thought of everything. I love that you brought each, like, how, you couldn't have made it any clearer. I can't speak today, but you couldn't have made it any clearer how to calculate the charts. I mean, people, you don't have to like read this book and then go sit in front of your technology and not know what to do. You've given every avenue, every website that you could possibly use if you have or don't have professional astrology software.
Here's the thing with astrology. I had to learn the hard way. I got into astrology before tarot, by the way. I think a lot of folks know that.
Oh,
And back in the day, there was no internet. I mean, we're talking over 40 years ago, 45 years ago. So I
wow.
started when I was 15. And hey, the Kate, good to see you.
Kate!
Love Kate. So I had to learn how to calculate charts by hand, which, oh my God, I
Wow.
don't miss that. Mistakes were made. And, the books were very dry. And also, I lived in a rural area. I had no access to a teacher. I had very little access to books. So I had like one or two books that I had to start with and try to figure it out from there. It was very painful. It was hard. And returns, I didn't learn about returns till I went through my first Saturn return. And so I had at that time been studying for, you know, 13 years, 14 years. I don't even remember how long, but then I can't do math today. But it was interesting because I was going through this really, crappy time. And I went to
Mhm.
see an astrologer, Chris Pierce, RIP, Chris Pierce. I hope you're having a Mountain Dew up there for me. And, he said, I said, oh my God, everything is so tough right now. He says, you're in your Saturn return. I'm like, well, what the hell is that?
What's that?
I didn't know there was nothing about returns in any of the books. They talked about Saturn being conjunct Saturn, but that was a term I didn't hear. And so
Mm.
Chris explained it to me, and I was like, oh my God, can all the planets make returns? Yes, yada, yada, yada. So, I started like working with returns then. And mainly when I would work for clients, I'd look at a solar return or Saturn return. Those are the most common
Yes.
that you're ever going to work with. But I became like obsessed with it because I'm super obsessed with prediction and trying to figure out the
Mm.
future. So anything with time and timing and transits really, really is my jam. And the reason why I wrote this book, Stephanie, is because suddenly I'm going through my second Saturn return. And I'm like, oh my
Yes.
God.
I've been
I,
following your journey
I
on threads
mm,
and everything that you talk because I'm like, okay, that's going to be me. And, I'm like, I'm about to come into my Saturn opposition. So I'm
okay then.
halfway to my next Saturn return.
Yes. You're getting there. So this is a time of challenge for you too. Saturn oppositions are. The Saturn return, the second Saturn return, I like to say I went through it so no one else has to. Oh my God. There was so little written on it. And I had written about it in, Twist Your Fate, which was a book I released a few years ago. And, at the time, because I hadn't lived it, it was theory. And I had heard some things about the second Saturn return being this time of accolades, yada, yada, yada. And by the way, that is true. A lot of good things happened. But my second Saturn return was rough. I mean, it was rough. And I'm like, what the hell? I thought I passed the first one. Where's the information on this? And then I started going through a Jupiter return. And I'm like, you know what? There should be more information on Jupiter returns.
Yes.
Why isn't there? I can find books on solar returns, lunar returns. I can find information on the internet, kind of. And one day I was so frustrated. I said, I mean, out loud, somebody needs to write a comprehensive but concise book with all the returns so I don't have to search, so I can just say, oh yeah, Chiron return. And I was bitching about it. And then often when you get frustrated, that is what leads to it. And I
Yes.
reached out to my publisher and I said, there needs to be a book on this. And they agreed. And so I'm so grateful for Wiser for saying yes, because this is the book I really do. It's not me tooting my horn. I'm an information person. I'm a Gemini. I like things that are concise. I like reference books. I have a ton of reference books. But finally, it's like, okay, I can just look it up. I can get some ideas. I mean, even though I've done these returns for clients or I've done the Pluto return, looking at the states, yada, 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 I just wanted the information handy in a physical
Yes.
book, not on the damn
Yes.
internet. And so that's
Yes.
the whole method, the whole reason behind why this book came to be.
And I feel like it's such an important time and perfect time. Even though, yes, it's frustrating that this book didn't exist before. Um, there's so much happening in the world right now that
Yeah.
it's easy to get caught up in it and forget that everything that's happening is affecting your chart in its own special way.
And everything moves in cycles, including the
Yes.
world. And I was
Yes.
talking to somebody just today who was complaining about all these horrible laws that are being passed. And I said, laws can be overturned. They're not forever. Look at Roe v. Wade. And by the way, in the Book of Astrological Returns, we talk about the United States went through the Pluto return.
Yes.
And
Yes.
when you look at those Pluto return charts, you can see the fall of Roe v. Wade in those charts, which is fascinating. Fascinating. And so, I have to remind people everything is in cycles, nothing lasts forever.
Yes.
No matter how horrible things are or how great things are, there's
Yes.
always a cycle. And I think a lot of things when we're studying like transits and returns, what astrologers are looking at is we're looking at patterns and we are devising theories around how that's going to play out. It might not play out the way we expect, but there's still, again, the patterns, the history repeating. Everything repeats in a different way. And that's what returns and transits for that matter are all about.
Yes. We had a question.
Yeah.
Ashley, I think it's Ashley Brack, said, okay, when is a Saturn opposition? Then why is there so much focus on Uranus opposition and no Uranus return?
The reason why, first of all, the Uranus return happens when you're about 84 years old.
84.
And, when back in the day, I don't read for the public any longer, but I did have a lot of senior citizen clients. But rarely would I have an 84-year-old person sitting in my chair. Now some people, maybe they were approaching it. We might look and say, okay, well, this is where Uranus might be affecting you. But it was rare. And so one of the reasons why we don't hear a lot about Uranus returns is for that reason.
Yes.
We are living longer. More people are going to have their first Uranus return. Well, they're only one. More people are going to reach their third Saturn return because we're living longer. So
Hmm.
that's why you're hearing about it. It has to do with age. And one of the things
Yes.
that's really frustrating too, when you do read about in a lot of astrology books and stuff, they do focus mainly on younger people. Now, I'm a woman of a certain age. That's why you see all those Saturn return books are mostly geared towards the first Saturn return. We see a lot of focus on people in middle age too, with, you can find things on Chiron return, Saturn oppositions, all of that. You can find that information. But once you start getting a certain age, it's like, hello, second Saturn return. My Aunt Angie had a third Saturn return.
Wow.
Um, you know, hey, we what about us? And so I think that's where we are missing something in our astrological studies. We do need to have more books written on the perspective of people who are aging populations. We need more astrologers studying things like people in their Uranus returns or in their
Yeah.
third Saturn returns, so we can gather information and then present that to the public. There's a shortage of that. That's a problem.
Well, thank goodness we have you to lead that revolution. And also, for anybody who's watching or ends up watching the replay of this, we forget that life is a long game. And
Yes.
everything that you're doing right now is really important. And those things are very important. I'm in my Uranus opposition currently. So I'm like completing kind of those midlife crisis transits,
Yep.
but there's so many more things to come. This isn't the best that's ever going to be in your life or the only time. Like, you're not going to miss a window for change and for impact
Hmm.
and for living your dreams and your best life and doing the things that you want to do. It's not all just behind you because you've already had a Saturn return and you didn't do
Yes.
everything you wanted to do at 29, or you didn't do everything, you didn't purge your life during your Pluto square that you were supposed to. Like, there's so many different things, and life in that second half,
Hmm.
despite what society tells you, is absolutely magical.
Yes. What's really interesting too, in when I was writing this book. So my daughter is a brilliant editor, and I always have her edit my books before they go to the publisher. She's got a Virgo ascendant, of course, and she's a writer, and she's just brilliant, and she's fluent in tarot and astrology. And when I was writing this book, I wrote about some people failed their first Saturn return. Those are the people who refuse to grow up,
Yeah.
who are like, no, I'm not going to accept responsibility. And then when they get to their second Saturn return, it's an opportunity to get it right,
Yes.
to revisit those issues. And so my daughter says, can someone fail their second or third Saturn returns? And I didn't think about it. And so I went and did a lot of thinking. I looked back on people that I knew who also went through second Saturn returns and third Saturn returns. And I'm like, yes, because the Saturn return is like a cosmic test. And I'm like, the second Saturn return, yes, I do know people that got to be in their late 50s, early 60s, who are still not getting it together, who are not taking responsibility for their life, who aren't planning for the future. I have a loved one, no names mentioned, who went through the second Saturn return at the same time. I have two siblings. We are all Irish twins, we're called. We all had Saturn in Pisces. We all went through the Saturn return at the same time. And this one did not learn the financial lessons in the first Saturn return. The second
Uh,
Saturn return came around, they're doing the same thing. And you can't steer someone right. Yes, you can point out something astrologically or point out something on a practical level, but some people are really determined to not break their patterns. And so for the third Saturn return, can you fail that? Absolutely. If you are 90 something years old or it happens really close to 90 years old, and you are no contact with your children, you have a lot of people that you need to correct things with. If you're bitter and angry and refusing to take responsibility for what you've created, the legacy you've created, you absolutely can fail that too. So what happens if you fail that Saturn return? Well, you go to your grave a miserable, bitter person. You leave behind a legacy that's not good. And that's the one thing when we leave this planet, we leave a legacy. What do you want that to be like? Do you want people to sing your praises, tell your funny stories, think about how you made them feel, how you forgave, how you showed up and took responsibility for the things you've done? Or do you want people talking about you like you were this horrific person that didn't care? So your third Saturn return, that's the thing. If you don't work on your legacy, you are leaving behind this thing that's going to be your history for the rest of time. Yuck.
yuck. So for anybody who's watching, Saturn is one of my favorite planets because it is the planet of maturity and responsibility. And the older you get, the sexier that becomes.
Hmm. Taking
And it
responsibility is amazing.
accountability,
Yes.
responsibility, all the things that we're asking of. And I think like everything that we see is kind of a mirror of where we are as a collective and the irresponsibility that we
Hmm.
see. That's a reflection of, hey, we don't want that to be our reality. How can
Hmm.
we take more accountability and responsibility in our own lives? And Saturn moves in like 7-year cycles.
Hmm.
And I think it's so interesting. I have a 3-year-old daughter right now. So I'm looking at her chart and I'm thinking, oh, like Saturn kind of knocks and checks in when it makes aspects. And I think about like, oh, at like 2.5, that's when they start, learning how to talk and potty training. And well, they already know how to
Hmm.
talk, but that's when like the potty training really kind of kicks in. And that's this like developmental leap. And then you think of like 7 years old, that's really when you learn how to read.
Yes.
And
Yes,
you think like
absolutely.
14, you've made it through puberty and you're learning about like what your body is going to be as an adult. And then at 21, you've left the nest and you've already like kind of you're into your, so it
Yep.
checks in every 7 years. So the person who was asking about that Uranus opposition,
Hmm.
it's making these, it's like every 7 years you're going to get a square, you're going to get an opposition, a square, and a
Yep.
return.
Yep.
And those are those like hard Saturn check-ins where it's like you're asked to mature to the next level, and you can fight that or you can choose to accept it. And then Saturn like gives you a gift, gives you a kiss and a gift. It kicks your ass a little bit, and then you get the gift of maturity, responsibility, and then you get to unlock these next levels
Hmm.
of life.
Yes, and you get to use your experiences to help others. I mean,
Yes.
ultimately, that's the goal. We accumulate knowledge and wisdom, and we often accumulate it through the school of hard knocks.
Yes.
I always think too, when it comes to your natal chart, the three things I'm also most concerned with are Saturn, Chiron, and the nodes. I don't care about all the
Mm.
good things in your chart. I don't. Because when we lean into the pain points and the areas where there are problems and we work on those, that's when the magic begins. The magic doesn't begin with just like, oh, here's this area where I'm, brilliantly talented. I've got my moon is in a beautiful aspect to Saturn. It's glorious. It's a perfect trine. My husband says it makes you so sane. And I'm like, yes, absolutely. And it really manifests well with my ability to bring in money. So I have to work hard. Don't get me wrong, Saturn doesn't give you anything for free.
Yeah.
But if I work hard, I'm always finding I'm doing fine. However, who cares about that? My Saturn is also wrapped up into this terrible T square that really messes with my boundaries. And so
Mhm.
I've had to learn so many lessons about boundaries. And that really got reflected in both of these returns that I've gone through. And what's interesting with this last return, when I ran the return chart, your return chart, by the way, you do two different things when you're going through return. First, we run a return chart, which is like the birth date of that exact moment in time, or the birth chart at that exact moment in time when the planets were, right on top of each other. And then we also look at the transits. So we look at
Mhm.
what's going on for both. And so the transit chart, you know, whatever, we show Saturn going back and forth, or my Saturn activating that T square. But it was really interesting because when I did the return chart, here's Saturn sitting in my seventh house in the return chart. And it's not there in my natal chart.
Right. Right.
And I'm like, so the next 27 years, I get to continue to work on boundary crap. You've got to be kidding me. So I had a big laugh about it, but it's, of course, I've learned something now because I went through that Saturn return and I know more about how to handle it. And there were a few boundary issues that popped up not that long ago, but this time, instead of letting it affect me, I'm like, remember, woman, this is your life lesson, and this is your next 27 years. Just handle your business. And I did, and all is well. So the beautiful thing about return charts, once you've run the chart, you get to see where your blessings are or where your lessons are for that cycle. It's fascinating.
It is. I started as soon as I got the book. I couldn't wait to dive in. And the easiest one for me to do was my Venus return, because
Hmm.
Venus is close to the sun. It takes a year. You get a
Yep.
Venus return every year. And my Venus is in Cancer, and it just,
So is mine.
oh,
We
and you
just
have a,
started our Venus return.
hi. So I was like, oh, well, this is coming up. I know, like, that's the first thing, because my Mars return isn't for another year.
What's your
Um,
Mars in?
Libra.
Mine's in Virgo. I'm right a little bit ahead of you there.
Wow. And you have a Scorpio moon as well, right?
Yes, I do. And I love my Scorpio moon, despite what people say about it. I'm
I
like,
have it too.
what? I know it's the best moon. And they're like, oh, that's the worst moon. I'm like, you are wrong, man. It is, first of all, it is a red hot moon. We feel things with intensity. We're not halfway about anything. We're loyal to the freaking core. And it's the most psychic moon. Oh, it's Kate,
Yes, Kate. High
yes.
five you, Kate. Yes. When I met Kate, Kate's a Sag with a Scorpio moon.
And she's got a great purse. I still fantasize about Kate's purse. So I'm just going to put that out there. But Scorpio Moon, I'm like, come on, man, give us a break. I love Scorpios. I'm a Scorpio stan, period. If you're a Scorpio,
Same.
you're my favorite. And the best reading I ever had in my life, I will never forget that reading as long as I live, was from a triple Scorpio.
Oh,
This guy was not a trained in anything. He gave me a reading that blew my damn mind. He was so psychic. Then he gave me another one, blew my mind. Gave me a third one, blew my. I mean, it was like scary how good this guy was. And so my current astrologer that I work the most with is Sam Reynolds, who is a Scorpio, because I'm always seeking out that same experience. And Sam Reynolds, this last year, oh my God, Sam told me, you're going to be bleeding so much money. And I'm like,
oh,
I'm a tightwad. I'm thinking I'm one of those people, my daughter, my sister says, you always got money hidden somewhere. I'm like, yeah, I do. I'm very,
yeah.
very frugal. I am like I will squeeze the eagle till it squawks, that type. And so I'm thinking, whatever. I'm just going to ignore that. Well, I ended up having the most expensive year of my life. My car took a dump. We had a tenant move out. They trashed our unit. We had this little small unit we rent out. I mean, it's been one thing after another. And then I went back and I looked at my solar return that, Sam does a couple different charts. And I'm like, yeah, that sun was in my second house of money. I thought that was going to be good. Oh, wait, I ignored the fact that it was opposed by the moon. And I'm like, Sam, if Sam would only be write only about the good things. But boy, was he right. And that was showed up in my solar return. And so thank God that my solar return's coming around very soon again. Thank God, because I got to get out of this bad money cycle. My God.
And that's the great thing too about the returns.
Hmm.
Your solar return happens once a year. So the chart that you cast when you use the book and you go in and you make your solar return, you want to start playing with that. It makes this whole chart that is
Hmm.
really the story playing out from birthday to birthday.
Yes. It tells you where you are going to have a lot of attention for good or for ill. We often think of the solar return like, ta-da, the sun, it's going to be shining a great light. Um, and in this case, I mean, Sam said you'll be okay, but oh my God. And Sam was right. But the thing I ignored when I did my own solar return chart, because you can't always read your own well, in my opinion. That's why I hire Sam every year. I ignored that opposition. And
Mm,
boy, mm, at a great cost. So I have a good humor about it now. And the next return that I have coming up looks really good. So I'm like, okay, this year better
yes.
do me a solid after the last year I had. And I'll be talking to Sam, I think the day before my birthday. Sam, if you're watching this, I want all good things. I want
On
all good
Sam, come
things.
through.
He's amazing, by the way.
He wrote the foreword
Yes, he
in
did,
your book.
which was the biggest honor because I've worked with Sam for years and I respect him. He is a brilliant astrologer, Scorpio. And what I love about Sam Reynolds is he was a skeptic, who was totally against this stuff and started studying and it made sense. So
Mm,
that perspective fascinates me. I'm
yes.
like, you didn't believe, you thought this was all malarkey, and then you started working with it and getting results. Now that's the type of person I'm interested in talking to.
What you resist persists. A
Yes,
lot of times the things
absolutely.
that we resist are something that is actually begging for us to take a deeper look at. I
Yes.
One of the things that almost all of the things that I've said like a hard no to in my life in my youth have become huge parts of my life now.
Like what? I want to hear one.
Oh, like having kids. I was always in my 20s and I have a Cancer Venus. So I like nurturing radiates off me, but I was like, like I'm not taking responsibility for other humans. I don't want to do it. No, no, no. I'm never having children. And then I turned 37 and had my nodal return, and my ovaries started screaming at me. And I realized, oh, I just have all these stories and all this like
Hmm.
family trauma and around this thing that I've created a wall around that is actually the thing I want the most.
Mm, I love that. That's really beautiful.
Thank
That's
you.
actually really beautiful, and what a great story. I have a Venus in Cancer too, and I'm not the most nurturing mother. I am and I'm not. I'm a hardcore mother, and the one thing is, um, I need a lot of time alone. And my kids, that used to really bother them. They thought I was like not present, and I'm like, no, I got a Scorpio moon. I need time to just sit in this couch and read. No offense, but you got to give that to me. Um, but now my kids and I are very close. My son lives around the corner. My daughter lives 5 minutes away. We talk on the phone like 3 or 4 times a day. We're always hanging out. And I'm not a cuddly mom. I'm not a cuddly grandmother, but I got your back. I always like to say with Moon and Scorpio mothers, we may not be, again, the most cuddly, but we're the mother you want by your side if you're in a knife fight, because we're coming with the weapons.
You're not wrong.
Mm-mm. Very
I,
protective.
yes. I, when I became a mother, I have never lived in the same city as an adult. For
Mm,
my parents, I couldn't wait to get away from them.
same.
And then I had a child, and my parents won't fly or travel. And
Mm.
I moved, I live a mile from my mom and dad now.
Interesting. I couldn't wait to get away from my parents, so I always made sure there was a healthy distance.
Yes.
My parents, no offense, they've been gone a long time. I'm not carrying any like, old wounds or any of that crap. That's all been healed. It's water under the bridge. But what was really interesting about my parents, they were not the best parents. They did a lot of things they shouldn't have done. They were wonderful grandparents. I mean, My daughter walks in straight up, and my dad is like, "Oh, you're looking great. You're doing such a great job." I'm like, I would have gotten my ass beat for that. So they were different as grandparents.
Yes.
Something changed, and they
Yes.
were loving. They were supportive. They were very close to my children. My kids could do no wrong. So it was an interesting experience, and in a way, it didn't heal everything, but it did
It's
help.
a it's a corrective experience to watch your
Yes,
parents with your children. It is very healing. I
yes,
can and that is like the only way I can live near them as well.
yeah,
Yeah, something definitely happens as, as we grow and we age and different aspects activate other things in our charts.
yes, absolutely. And I will say, when my second Saturn return came around, I became a grandparent. And I went into a very protective mode over the grandbaby, which I needed to do, because grandchildren need to have a wise elder looking out for them.
Yes.
And it's being a grandparent changes your life in a way you don't expect. Again, I'm still not the most cuddly grandparent, but I'm his favorite grandparent, probably because I'm like a curmudgeon, except I have a candy jar that's only for them. So they know when they're over here, they're going to get candy. They know they're going to get the good stuff, the bad stuff.
So your next book is The Curmudgeon with the Candy Jar.
Yes, candy jars do a lot for children. I highly recommend you have a secret candy jar if you're a grandparent that nobody gets to touch, not even my husband gets to touch. It's like, stay away from that. That's for the grandbaby,
I love
only for
that.
the grandbaby.
I love that so much. So we talked a bit about solar returns. We've talked a lot about Saturn returns. Let's talk a little bit. Can we talk a little bit about Jupiter returns? Because those happen every
Yes.
12 years.
Yes, and I'm going to say one thing for people who are getting ready for your Jupiter return. It is a time for manifestation. So you might want to have a book like Tarot for
Oh,
Manifestation
thank
to
you.
really grok your Jupiter return. So the Jupiter return happens every 12 years,
Yes.
and it's a time of expansion. It's a time of opportunity. We can grow. Sometimes, though, things you don't want to grow will grow too. Keep that in mind. Jupiter, while it is benevolent, Jupiter also can be a little bit funny. Jupiter might look and say, "Oh, you got a gambling problem? Let's go ahead and expand that for the next year because maybe that's going to get your damn attention." So Jupiter does do things like that. But generally, Jupiter return does bring lots of gifts. And if you pay attention and are ready to receive those gifts and you're doing your manifestation work, it could be a magical time. Now, there are people who go through their Jupiter return and think, well, nothing good happened to me. And I'm like, but did you have any major problems? Well, no, not really. And did the problems you have get resolved? Well, yeah, they got resolved. So sometimes Jupiter just comes around to correct things too. So the Jupiter return is an interesting time. And when I went through my Jupiter return, while I was writing this book, I not only wrote this book, but I got a book deal for another book. And that book is about writing and it's coming out next year. And writing, a book about writing is very much a Jupiter subject, right? Publishing. So that came through for me. I had other opportunities that all around writing that showed up in my life in a really powerful way. Started writing for the Old Farmer's Almanac, had other little things coming through. So it really ended up being quite good for my writing career because my whole goal was like, I want to be writing. That's all I want to do. Write, do some teaching, but I want to write. And this Jupiter return really delivered. So I will have book number 10 out next year.
Wow.
Yeah, and before this
That's
year ends, I
amazing.
will have a third tarot deck out that I've written a book for. So I've been like a writing maniac. And during the Jupiter return, I popped out two books, this book, the Book of Astrological Returns, and The Magic Pen, which is the book that's coming next year,
Oh, I love
and
that.
the Tarot of Affirmations, which comes out in October. So it really,
Wow.
really was amazing for my career.
I love that. So if you think about the cycles of Jupiter, think about like when you're 12 years old, you have your first Jupiter return. So you can think back what was happening in your life when you were 12 years
Yes,
old.
puberty. That's a time of growth. That's a time
Yes.
where we really start figuring out who we are. And I'm one of those weirdos that I actually enjoyed my children better when they were older When they started going through puberty, were they awful? Of course they were. But they got interesting because then you started seeing all of the things where they're going to expand. I mean, that's when my son picked up his drums for the first time. And now he's a professional percussionist. So
Wow.
we saw these things happening. So 12 is a
You're
very important age.
yes. It's not only it's your body expanding,
Hmm.
and I woke up on my 12th birthday with a full C cup.
Oh,
Shocking. Yeah, I was a woman overnight. But I also, that's when my parents put me in my first like collegiate level art classes.
ooh,
They put me
it paid
in,
off.
yeah, they put me in like, I'm from Michigan, and there was like a wonderful art college in my town at the time that didn't have drawing classes for my age. It was like 15 and older with like
Hmm.
live models, and like
Wow.
they had me submit my stuff, and I was able to get into it. So that was like this huge expanse. I was going to these like kind of teenage grown up as like this little tiny person.
That's
Um,
amazing.
yeah. And then you think like, okay, 24 is the next.
Yep.
And like at 24, that's usually when people are either kind of maybe you're finishing grad school,
Hmm.
or you've kind of finished up your first like post college job that like absolutely sucked and
Hmm.
taught you everything you want to change, and you start to get a little bit more confident in who
Hmm.
you are as an adult to try new things and expand.
It's that quarter life thing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's big. And then the next one comes up in your 30s.
Yep.
And that's when a lot of us really start finding our stride. We develop confidence.
Yes.
I started my business during my first Saturn return. And in my 30s, my business was zooming. It was zooming. So, absolutely. Then we get one at 48.
I
48
can't wait
is,
for that one. I'm like,
oh my
come through.
God. Listen, my 48, um, big doors opened, and I had my first book deal and wrote my first book by the time I was 50.
Wow.
So it's huge. 48 was a big, big year for me. Lots
Yes.
of doors opened.
Yes. Let's talk about 48, because there's a lot of people that are like that think that, life is over when you hit your 40s. And I think it's just beginning, but I've been seeing a lot of like posts about like especially women becoming like millionaires at 48, and like
Hmm.
48 is this magic age that like your career can really like take a huge turn.
Hmm.
And
Mine
I'm
did.
laughing because I'm like, okay, that's like a Jupiter return year. That's funny. And
Yeah,
so
no,
like,
mine did. It's what opened up my writing career. So 48 was the beginning of the end of me reading for the public, really. And it
oh
was the beginning. I didn't stop reading for the public until 2020. That's when I stopped. But that age was when the path started getting laid for me to do that. And I wanted to be a writer. And that's all I wanted. I had a one-track mind. So 48 was when everything started to fall into place for that to become my reality. So think about what you want. um,
yes.
that's the thing I'm going to tell people when you're coming up to, first of all, the age 45 is also a very important age. This has nothing to do with tarot, nothing to do with astrology. Okay. I read a book called Destiny Cards by Robert Lee Camp. It's a fascinating book. I love it. I like all kinds of divination stuff. And he speaks about the age of 45 as being significant because it's the age where you can stick with the hand you've been dealt, or you can change it. And there were a lot
Mm.
of big things that happened in my life around 45, which is also your reverse nodal return.
Yep.
Um, so there's
Reverse
something
nodal
to it.
returns are awesome.
My reverse nodal returns were really, the one at age 9
Mine
and
were.
45 were life changing, life changing. And then 48 came along. Holy cats, doors started to open. And the other thing I am going to say, when you bring up about how people talk about getting older, like it's this horrific thing, especially women, they're making it sound like menopause is the end of everything. No, it's not. It's the beginning.
Beginning.
It's when you get to be really witchy and bitchy. Suddenly, it's like I am free to do whatever the hell I want. You always have been free to do whatever the hell you
Yes.
want, but suddenly you have permission or you give yourself permission. So the 50s are really empowering. And people, I've always had these women saying, "Oh my God, you're going to become invisible." I'm invisible to to what?
Two.
Dudes? Who cares? If you should be focusing on your accomplishments, not your sex appeal. What's wrong with you? So don't look at menopause or getting older as this terrible thing. Look to the astrology, and you're going to see all these opportunities that are going to blow you away. And what you said about 48, yeah, hell yeah, it set the tone. It was where everything for me started for what I really wanted to be doing.
So excited. Yeah, getting older is it's this beautiful divine thing, and I found myself really gravitating towards older women
Yes,
as so inspiring. And really like what's happening now with, everything that,
this
the
world,
the
this.
world, the mask of
Mm,
the evils of this country is as horrible as it is. It's been very liberating. Like I
mm.
don't feel like I have to be on the hamster wheel of the male gaze.
No, it's not worth it. I've never really been a male gaze person, anyways. My dad would say, "You're never going to get married." I'm like, "Well, I don't want to get married." Of course, I ended up getting married more than once. Uh, but, it's interesting. That was never important to me. What's always been important to me is my freedom. And the reason why my current relationship has lasted as long as it has is because I'm free. I can do what I want. I can be who I am. He's not trying to tell me what to do. He's not possessive. And that's why it works for me. My mission has always been to be free. I've never wanted anything more than to have my space, my way. And, that's very, very hard sometimes for some people to understand in a relationship. How can you be in a relationship and be free? Well, that's the way it should be. So I've never been that thing about the male gaze. And also, no offense, but the men I grew up with were kind of stupid. They're not going to
There
listen to this, so they're not going to care anyways. I mean, I grew up with these men that I was like, what the hell? I could run circles around them. And so it never, that whole male gaze thing never really connected for me in the way that it does for a lot of folks because it's pushed on us. We're taught that, the biggest thing you could do is get into a relationship with a dude. What if I don't want to be with a dude? What if I want to be with a woman? What if I want to be alone? What if I want to be not doing that? But that's not what we're taught, especially my generation wasn't taught that. My generation was taught, you get married, you settle down. This is what you're supposed to do. And if you're doing anything alternative, God forbid. And, the one beautiful thing again is astrology. As you get older, you get free, but we are also living in a society where women are able to see that they've been sold a false bill of goods and that they don't have to accept that we
no.
can carve out peaceful lives and not live with angry men. And we can, do things on our terms. And I know there's some folks that want to take that away. You're not going to be able to. You can try, but some of us old bags are going to be having our say about that.
And it might be slightly off topic of astrological returns, but when when I think about society, I think of Pluto cycles.
Hmm.
And
Fascinating.
Pluto, when it enters a sign, it always brings a crisis. And so Pluto went
Yes.
into Aquarius in 2024, and we're seeing the crisis. And yes, it feels very devastating, but it's a long game. It's a Pluto's in Aquarius for 19, almost 20 years.
Yes.
So, and we're just getting started.
And also the thing to remember again, everything is in cycles, history is in cycles. And the one thing that I say about this is my theory, astrology is always theory. This is
Yes.
my theory about Pluto and Aquarius. So the last time Pluto was in Aquarius, we had the American Revolution, the French Revolution, right? And right now, some of the people doing the most harm in the world have Pluto and Leo. And people with Pluto and Leo were kings and queens in past lives. And so in this lifetime, They still think they're kings and queens and they want to be treated as that. They want subjects, they want people under their control. They're the me generation. And what's going to happen now that Pluto's in Aquarius is they're
It's
going to
an
lose their crowns.
opposition. Yes,
Yes,
they're
they're
in their
going to
Pluto
lose.
opposition.
Yes, they're going to lose their crowns. Those kings and queens that right now are running things into the ground, they are going to lose their crowns. And there'll be revolution. It may not look like, the French Revolution, but there will be revolution. And it's very important for folks. If you love what's going on, have at it. Good on you. But if you're looking at this and saying, wow, this inequality, this racism, this horrible things they're doing around the world, all this murder, this genocide, this and that, well, then guess what? We got to be like Hungary. Get up, stand up, vote, speak up. It's revolution time. Pluto and
It's
Aquarius is all
revolution
about
time.
power. Pluto is power. Aquarius is to the people. And so the people right now, all those Pluto and Leo people who are running the show, I see you, you're going to lose your crown. Now, if I was a Pluto and Leo person and into astrology and looking at the astrology, I would be thinking, I don't want to make the people mad. So, what I'm going to do is become a beloved billionaire or a beloved leader. And I'm going to build great libraries and do great things. Pluto and Leo people, if they're smart, that's what they would be doing right now. And by the way, anybody, even if you're not a Pluto and Leo, if you right now, with Pluto being an Aquarius, you have the means, you shouldn't be looking to use those means to bring people down and oppress people. This is your time to step up your game. Give it away, give it away, give it away, yo.
It
That's
makes
it.
me it makes me think of Mean Girls
Hmm.
when, Katie Heron gets the crown and she breaks it and she takes the
Yes.
crown and she throws it out into the crowd. This is that kind of energy. Also, I'm having Pluto opposite my sun.
Ooh,
So I'm like, what that's why I started this series where I'm like, I spent years going on other people's podcasts to talk about myself. And I was like, I want to do a thing where I'm talking about other people.
yes.
I know a lot of people that are doing really cool
So
shit
you're
that's
a
going to help
Leo.
people. Yeah, I'm a Leo.
I love Leos. Listen, I planned my daughter so she'd be a Leo.
Oh,
I mean, because I thought Leo women, okay. So I'm really weird. I knew I was going to have a girl the first time, and I had to have a Leo. And again, I'm not like a fuzzy maternal thing. When my first husband really wanted kids, he's really into having kids. I'm like, I don't know about that, but then he talked me into it. I'm like, well, I'm going to at least do it by astrology. She came 3 weeks early, just made Leo, just made it. And for the second one, we wanted a second one, and I said, I need an Aquarius boy, and I planned it. And he came early. They both came early, just made Aquarius. I couldn't believe it. So I did get my Leo daughter and I got my Aquarius son.
wow. I my pregnancy wasn't a surprise and I prayed that she wasn't an Aquarius.
Aquariuses are
And
so
I was so
interesting.
afraid that she was going to be that she would come early and be an Aquarius, but she made it in Pisces. But I was like, I don't know if I can handle a Pisces with a Pisces moon
Is that what you
or
got?
a Pisces with an Aries moon. So I planned my induction on the Taurus moon.
When my daughter was born,
So she has a grounded moon.
yeah, well, she came through early. She would have came on her due date. It would have been like the most easiest, perfect child. Of course, it didn't work out that way. So the first thing I did in the hospital was I drew her chart up because that's what
Yeah, that's what
astrologers
we
do,
do.
y'all.
Yes. Yep.
And I looked and everything was fixed. Scorpio. I mean, so what was it like? Sun in Leo, Moon in Taurus, Mercury in Leo, Venus in Leo, Mars in Scorpio. I mean, it was fixed signs like turtles all the way
Oh,
down. And my chart is almost all mutable. And I
wow.
looked at the chart, and she hates when I tell people the story. I cried. I'm like, oh my God, I'm never going to get along with this kid. But of course, we're thick as thieves. I mean, my daughter and I are like, boom, we just have to learn how to manage each other's energy.
Yes.
That's the big thing. So I had to give her structure, which I don't really always like. And she needed to be sure of certain things. And she needed to let me breathe, get off my ass. So it's interesting.
It is very interesting.
Pisces children are so loving.
Oh
They're
my
so
gosh,
cuddly.
and I'm
Cuddly.
very cuddly, so because
You're
I have a lot
set.
of yes, yeah, she's
That's
awesome.
beautiful.
Thank you.
And little girls are fun, aren't they?
I'm just grateful for healthy because I waited out the clock.
Yeah.
I had her at 40, and
My daughter waited out the clock to have hers, and healthy as can be and
yeah,
really
no complications
rebellious.
other than they say a geriatric pregnancy, but
Yes, isn't that a terrible thing to say? When they called it a geriatric pregnancy, I'm like, what? I mean, in my eyes, she's still a little girl. So, but yeah,
yeah, no, she's great. So back to we were talking about Pluto cycles and Pluto and
yes.
Aquarius and how we're playing the long game. And again, this is the time where we think that, like, whenever I have a personal big Pluto transit, think about what, instead of fighting
Mhm.
what's going to leave, how can I make offerings to the fire?
Oh, I love that. How can I make offerings to the fire? That's really brilliant. I never thought about it from that perspective.
Thank you. I have
I
Pluto on my
love that.
ascendant.
Ah, so you're a Pluto person.
I'm very
So
Plutonian.
when Pluto went into Aquarius, it sat on my IC.
Ooh, yeah.
Let me tell you something. Between
Wait, are
home
you a
reno,
Libra rising?
I'm a
Or
late Libra rising.
me too.
Okay, well, Libra rising is great.
Okay.
What degree?
I'm 21.
Okay, I'm 20, I think 25.
Okay, yeah. So yours really, mine was a like a more of a pandemic-y into story of it
Hmm.
going through my IC. But I knew as soon as I knew that the it was coming, I was like, that's when I knew my time in New York was over and the relationship I was in was over. And I was like,
Hmm.
okay, what can I sacrifice to the fire? Because I know once it crosses my IC and into my fourth house, I'm going to start a brand new life and I need to embrace it because it's for my highest and best.
Right. I mean, really, it is. And leaving New York is so hard. Did you live in the city proper?
I was in Brooklyn.
Okay, that's proper enough. But New York is such an amazing place. I love New Yorkers. They are the most straight up people in the world.
They really
In New
are.
York, oh, New York, I love New York. New York is my playground. And but Pluto wants what Pluto wants. It doesn't matter
Yeah.
if you're in the coolest city in the
Don't fight
world.
it.
No, when Pluto says it's time to go, you're gonna
And
go.
so what's happening in society now, there are things that are leaving and you're watching like the people that don't want to let go of this old thing and they're going to be dragged.
They're gonna get dragged
They're
hard.
going to get dragged hard and we're watching, like bullies and narcissists and they all are trying to do all of this harm. Well, they're not trying, they are doing all of this harm,
They're
but
doing it.
they're doing it to fight off the inevitable. And I'm watching and my heart is broken for the people who are really suffering,
It's
but
terrible.
it's
Could you
not going to
imagine
stay
that?
that way.
No, it's not. Again, everything changes. Can you imagine though, if you're 80 years old and your whole goal is to take as much as you can and to screw over, I mean, as many people and kill as many people as possible. Can you imagine at 80 thinking that this is a good thing? I mean, I don't know. At 80, the last thing I'm going to do is cling to power, and go and ruin a bunch of people's lives. My goal at 80 is hang out with the grandbaby, who will be a little miniature adult by then. Hang out with the grandbaby, bake some cookies, read books, and lay around and not do anything. I can't imagine being in that mindset. I mean, what drives a person to think when you are supposed to be a wise elder that this is my time now to screw everybody and to burn this planet down to a crisp? Who gets that idea? It's so awful. I can't, I mean, it's mind-boggling. And I even think about the generation right above me. They had all the benefits. I mean, all the benefits, cheap college,
Cheap
pensions, and they
houses, yeah.
tore it down for us. And so I'm a couple years away from retiring. None of that is available. And for millennials, there's even less. And I mean, we could go on and on about that topic.
We can, or we could see it as those things that we thought were going to be the structures that supported us were
Mhm.
never actually going to work.
Yes.
And
And
if we don't see a solution to the problem, it hasn't been invented yet.
amen. And also the thing to remember, the United States right now is in
Their Pluto
um,
return.
well, no, they just went through the Pluto
They,
return.
yeah.
They're in their Uranus return.
Oh, that's right.
I
Woo.
mean, and that's really interesting. So they are in their Uranus return, the United States is. And think about some of the things that happened 80 years ago. When the United States was in their Uranus return, there was wartime. People say it's a war thing. We're always in war. It doesn't matter what return you're in. But out of that, some good things happened. I mean, there was the New Deal, FDR. So
Yeah.
I'm like, again, everything
Necessity
comes in
is the
cycles.
mother of invention. And there's
Everything comes in
Pluto in
cycles.
Aquarius. It's a cycle. We're going to see all of these things where right now it looks like the future is just AI. That don't fall into the holograph of this
Mm-mm.
fucking circus. Sorry for cursing, but there is stuff that's going to be happening on the other side that we haven't even seen yet because, pressure cooks the diamonds.
Yes. And I think we're going to see also people are going to want the real deal. I know there's some people, and I'm not going to, try to name a shame, but I know some people who are in my profession who are talking about, oh, AI astrology and tarot readings. I'm like, what? It doesn't have the human touch. And also, it's not accurate. I went and looked at this stuff and I'm like, that's the wrong date. It can't be counted on. It doesn't have the human touch because when you are doing tarot or astrology interpretations, you also don't just look at the math or look at the cards. You have to feel out what it means for this person. So let's pretend you and I have the exact same reading, the exact same cards. You are a different person than me, Stefanie. A skilled reader is going to look at that and say, okay, well, they both got the Empress, but this is what it means for her, and it's going to mean this for this person. Whereas if you put it through AI, we're going to get the exact same reading. Blocks to that. It doesn't work. And it's the same with writing. I've had a couple of my books stolen by AI to train
Oh,
people. So I've got an attitude about it. I'm part of that
yeah.
lawsuit. Um,
I'm sorry.
can it write? Yes, but it doesn't have the human touch. It doesn't have your nuances. It doesn't have the things that makes it you. And somebody was like, I took this class because I was nosy about AI for writers, and it was conducted by a really well-known writer. I thought, okay, well, they might have something good to say about this. And they're talking about all these things you could use it for, and I'm like, but it's not accurate, number one. And if you've ever tried to run your writing through an AI thing and it starts changing your stuff, it doesn't sound like you. It doesn't sound like you. Do you want to sound generic? Do you want to sound like everybody else? Hell no. So that's why this stuff is really problematic. And with Uranus being in Gemini, we are having it shoved down our throats. But again, Pluto and Aquarius, viva the revolution.
Well, and that's the thing is, for a long time, we put our trust into our government and they didn't have our best interest at heart, but we were told to trust them. And do we not see the mirror in trust
Mhm.
in the AI it doesn't have your best interest at heart. It's giving you, false, fake news.
Yes. And also,
And it's
there's,
trying to get you to turn a blind eye so that they
yes,
can, do the nefarious things behind your back. Don't fall for it.
no. And also, it's giving scammers bad ideas. So get this, a week before my book came out, I was on Amazon. I wanted to just like look at, where I'm at in the Amazon rankings. Nosy. Even though everyone hates Amazon, it's still unfortunately really important for authors. So went looked and there was another book on astrological returns written by AI with a cover generated with font that was similar to mine. They launched it a week before my book came out because obviously they saw the book was getting some good rankings and they're going to capitalize. So there's an AI book on Astrological Returns that looks very similar to mine. It does, listen, in mine, I have examples that I've worked through. This is again the difference. They're going to have whatever you get there, it's going to be this generic whatever. I went and looked at Kendrick Lamar's Jupiter return. I looked at Liz Taylor during her solar return. I actually put Sidney Poitier's three different Saturn returns under my guy, my astrological things. That's real work. These are my interpretations. So yeah, and that's one of the reasons why I'm telling people, by the way, if you have a copy of my book, please go ahead and leave a review because I've got this AI book now that is running neck and neck with my book, and it is a BS book written by somebody who's not even a human, who is also offering readings that are AI readings. It makes me angry.
As it should. As it should. And I'm so sorry. Um, and then I also have to remember that the thing that they don't want us to realize is such a power is our own energy can be felt electronically through the ethers.
Yes.
When we look at your book, not an AI, because that's a void wall. But this has Theresa Reed energy that
Hmm.
will go through wherever you're finding it. If you're looking at it in person at a bookstore, if you're looking at it on Amazon, if you're looking at it on an indie website, or you're Barnes and Noble, wherever you like to buy your books, your energy comes off of this
Hmm.
and your energy is felt.
I agree, but for people who don't know any better, this is
We
why
got to
when
tell
people
them.
yeah, when I hear people in my industry, whether they're writers, tarot readers, or astrologers, talking about how great AI is, I'm like, I've had a couple of my books stolen, and now I just had this incident. I'm a little
Yeah.
salty about AI. I'm a little
Yeah.
salty about it. I have a very different perspective because it's stealing from me. And
Yeah.
I don't care if Uranus and Gemini is promising to bring this AI boon. I think you're right. And there's going to be people who want authenticity, they want the human touch, they want craftsmanship. It's the same like when you look at architecture. Architecture's become so dull. We want Victorian homes again. We want craftsman homes. We want that. We don't want this generic thing slapped together. And why should we have that in any other things?
And I think this is part of the pendulum swing.
Mhm.
You're going to see it swing so far. People are going to use and are using it as like get rich quick and, easy come, easy go. And maybe this is what needed to happen in order to get us back to putting to realizing the value and seeing
Yes.
the value in things that are handmade. Gemini's hands, right? It's like things that are made by our hands. It's not just our tech.
Yes, you're so right. I didn't even think about that. You're totally right. Again, astrology's theory, and I didn't even think, oh yeah, Gemini rules the hands, Uranus and Gemini. Sure, it may be AI tech, but handmade things are going to be in vogue again, and it should be. I mean, I love it when I have a beautiful. I got this tarot deck that I ordered. I just got to show you all. Everyone knows I'm like kind of a weirdo about cats in Victorian clothes. Is one of my things. I mean, this beautiful deck. AI cannot do this. It is the Bohemian Cat Theater Tarot, and the artist behind this deck, it's in a nice little wooden box, actually handmade costumes. They handmade these little costumes, and then they have these shelter cats, and they would put like the shelter cats, superimpose them onto the outfits. Look at that. And it's got gold foil. AI cannot do this. You are not going to find a deck on Temu like this. So these people can go and do their little scammy things. But when I look at the artistry, of course I'm going to support this deck. This deck took a long time for them to produce because they handmade the outfits and they had to find the cats and pose everything. I
It's going
mean,
to be the return of whimsy in weird.
yes,
Yeah, like I think Uranus and
yes.
Gemini is going to be so good. I'm so here for it.
Whimsy. I'm all
Thank
about
you
it.
for sharing that
Whimsy.
deck. It is,
Oh my
we're
God.
in our whimsy era.
Listen. This deck, oh my God. true artistry.
I love it.
I love artists. I live with an artist. I love writers. I love musicians. I love people who do things with their hands and people who think and dream and come up with weird ideas. You know, one of the things I'm utterly fascinated with musicians, and I know there's AI musicians too. I watched a documentary about the Bee Gees, and Barry Gibb was talking about the time they were driving over a bridge and the tire was going do 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 like it was in his head, and he went home and was like do 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 and wrote jive talking,
Wow.
and that blew me away because the thing is AI can't do that.
No.
The way people conjure up music and words and art, AI can't do it. It is a cheap replica. It is a cheap replica. It's like fast fashion. Do I want that? No, I'm not going to buy that junk. I want something that's going to last, something that care was put into it.
And I think we're going to see that, and
Mhm.
it's easy to get caught up right now in the, oh my god, like I haven't even put my art out into the world and I'm too afraid now because like where would I even fit in, because there's all this stuff and people are using AI and people are established. It's so intimidating, but it's like you're it's that's when it actually is your moment. So
Yes.
if you are watching this and you are a whimsy person, or you are wanting to start writing or start creating or start sharing, and you're intimidated by everything that you're seeing right now, this is your moment. That is a false projection of your internal fear that's trying to just keep you safe.
And remember, art is resistance.
Art is resistance.
Making your art, writing your book, painting, even painting your damn wall. I mean, art is resistance. And
Yeah,
if we are going to create, we have to create. I mean, I have to create. I have to write.
I do.
I
Yeah,
can't not. Do you
I
get it?
can't
You're an
not.
artist. You're a writer. You get it. People who think they're not artists and writers, there's something I know you can create too. Maybe you create the best bundt cake. Sign me up, by the way.
Yeah,
Maybe you're somebody that knows how to create peace in situations that are really tense. Maybe your contribution is planting that garden in your front yard that people walk by and admire. Everyone has a creative force within them. They just have to find the medium. And we can all create something beautiful and meaningful. And we should. We should.
yeah. This is time to play.
Yes. Whimsy. That should be our word going forward for all of us. And by the
Yes,
way, the Kate you know says she's here for the whimsy era.
I am as well. Thank you so much. This was so much fun. I knew it would be. I love doing these because I don't really like structure them. I'm like, let's see where, because it's another thing where like I was, going on these podcasts where they're giving me like they're pre-giving me these long PDFs with questions and
I hate
things that
that.
were, and I'm like, throw it out. What are you feeling today? What's the vibe?
Have a
And I
conversation.
yeah, I just want to have a real conversation with real people talking about our love of astrology and tarot and whimsy and
And art
tear,
and
and
music
art
and
and tearing
Leos
down
and Moon
the
and Scorpios.
patriarchy.
Yes,
Yes,
and very tough patriarchy. All that. Real
all that.
conversations. We need that. I hate really structured when people send me a list of things I'm going to have to answer. I don't want to have to, because you know what it does? It makes you then pre plan your answers instead of just being you.
Yeah,
That's weird. I
yeah.
prefer like whatever, just ask me whatever.
Thank you, Kate.
And hopefully I have the answer. And if I don't, well, I'm just going to be me.
I and you is exactly what we came for. The realist Theresa Reed. Everybody, go out and get your very real copy of Astrological Returns. It walks you through every step. You get a Mercury return, a solar return, a Venus return, a Mars return, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, all the things. And as you mentioned before, for authors,
Hmm.
we hate Amazon, but that leaving reviews for us in those spaces really helps us.
It helps
So
us so
it
much. And
helps
right
us
now
so
with
much.
fake AI book on the same
Yeah.
topic. Y'all, I need you to go out there and give a review, an
Please
honest review. You
leave
don't have
an
to,
honest
whatever,
review.
yeah, just honest.
But I mean, I can tell you right now, it's a 5-star book.
Thank you so
And
much. As is your amazing book. So listen, folks,
thank
here's an
you.
idea for you, okay? Tarot, I always say tarot and astrology go together really well. Astrology can show you the traffic. Astrology can show you what's happening, but tarot helps you to find the detours. Y'all, peanut butter and jelly. So get this to learn about the cycles and then get this to manifest what you want during those cycles. Boom. You're
Boom.
unstoppable with them
I love
both.
it. Oh, I appreciate you so much, Teresa. It was so cool I feel like we got to hang out,
I
and
feel
this was
like we've
great.
hung out before. It feels like we've done this forever.
I know. I adore you. It's so funny. We're both Libra risings with Scorpio moons and Cancer. Crazy.
It's the
It's
best
the
combo.
best. All
Thanks
right.
for
So
having me.
thank you so much. Have a wonderful rest of what day is it? Is it Wednesday?
It's Wednesday, and I'm
It's
going to be on the
Wednesday.
road in 2 days. Detroit, I'm coming for you.
Oh,
I
she's
love
on
Detroit.
tour. I I'm from Michigan, so I also love Detroit.
It's a good city.
All right. Take care. Thank you guys all for watching.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Bye.
Mwah.